So Tom Holland and Zendaya just got married at the ripe age of 29 years old, and their prenuptial agreement is so crazy. I don't know if it's real or not. Tom is saying that he'll give up all the profits of his movies with her for her. Tom is gonna assume responsibility for all the expenses, future expenses for their son. And keep in mind, Zendaya's got a lot of money, and apparently they're only going to have one child because it's this son. And he created a $4 million fund, which is, I suppose, okay. And all their assets are now registered in Zendaya's name. This was much more than she expected. And third point is, if Zendaya gets pregnant, Tom will stop all of his work immediately and stay by her side until she gives birth. I mean, some of these are really sweet. I'm not going to lie. I think they're sweet. I think Tom is a very sweet guy. But the part about the money, I mean, it's pretty intense that he's giving her all the control. It's almost like he doesn't trust himself, and maybe he's right not to. But I always think these celebrity marriages are so interesting. They're a very unlikely couple, right? She starred in Netflix specials, and he was in Marvel Universe, which later she joined. She was in Dune. I mean, they're both two pretty young actors who are pretty great, so I guess it isn't that much of an unlikely pairing. They did share the screen more and more throughout the years, even if she started Netflix and he started the Spiderman. But that's it. Our boy Spiderman has gotten married. I hope they have a lovely and happy marriage. I hope they have a lot of children and their children are very healthy and wonderful and happy, and that their life is so happy. And I think their marriage age is very interesting, because as hard workers, they have to get married a little older, like at 30, which I suppose is the average marriage age for today. And they could have two children, which is a pretty good life. And they could raise those children well. And I think that'll be good for them. God bless them. But I think it's really interesting how it kind of became this big thing on social media. I remember when Taylor Swift got married, everybody was commenting about her, but she does have a much bigger fan base with her Era store that made her a billionaire. But these marriages are really interesting. The Tom Holland one I wanted to comment on, especially due to this prenuptial agreement, which was pretty interesting, I found, and pretty unusual. But marriages are always great. And I think it's interesting that they got married, certainly. I think relationships are very interested in how they happen because people develop parasocial relationships with these people. And just as much as we like to know when people in our lives are getting married, having children, which are some of the most important things in all of human life, we recognize that it's one of the things that gives us value, meaning, and community. And so we like to know when people around us are doing it, or when people we think are around us are doing it, so that we can base ourselves off that. We end up modeling their behavior, whether we like it or not. So influencers, celebrities, they're very important culturally because they shape how people think their life should go, and how people are going to behave in their own relationships, sexual relationships, and otherwise, romantic, marriage, children. So celebrities are really influencers, and influencers influence people's behavior in all domains of their life, for good or for worse, for better or worse. And we have to take into account what they're doing so that we can know where our society is headed in the future, what its habits are going to be. And I don't know what you think about that marriage. I'm going off the topics that I usually cover here, but hopefully find that it is interesting, and that Spider-Man hopefully can still make movies. I don't know if he was the best Spider-Man. I think Tobey Maguire was my favorite one. He was so original, and he played off the nerdy look so well, which I think Tom Holland never was able to get. The nerdy look was so much better played by Maguire. It was so intense, and he was so humble, and it was so interesting, the humble beginnings, playing in that fight club, in that UFC style fighting place. And then the guy doesn't give him the money, and then a robber takes the money, and he lets the robber go to the elevator and says, well, it's not my problem. So it really reminiscent of so many things. But I guess Tom Holland is the one they chose for these days. A different Spider-Man. What do you think? Leave your comments down below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.